So have you ever tried wood burning a field of grass and it just ended up turning like a mess and it just looked horrible, to say nicely. Grass is a tricky thing to wood burn. So by the end of this video, my goal is for you to be able to wood burn grass. And stay tuned to the end. I'm going to show you a couple tricks to make your piece even more realistic when you're adding grass into your wood burnings. There's basically 3 steps in wood burning grass in your piece. The 3 nibs that you can use is your writing nib, your skew, which is more of that knife, and your shader, at least the edge of the shader. And before we dive into the 3 steps, I do want to point out that our end goal is to build from top to bottom with the grass, going from light to dark. Things that are farther away are always lighter, and as it gets closer to you in your piece, you burn it darker. This is true of anything, but specifically with grass, you have to make sure to do that to give it that depth. If you're trying to wood burn like a lot of grass on your entire piece, you will want to build that gradually, making it lighter, really far away, and then just very slowly building darker as it gets farther down your piece. And that will add that depth without making it look like a mess. So I'm going to turn my wood burner on and put it down to about a medium heat here on my wood burner. That's about 5. And the first step is creating clumps of grass. I can imagine a focal point that I'm going to then wood burn from to create that clump. And you kind of want to start at the base of the grass and go up and kind of create more of a curve to each strand of grass and kind of lift up. If it's helpful to turn your piece upside down to be able to do that, to make sure that you're always starting off at the base of the grass. Do it again and add a couple darker blades. And then if I want to, I can do it a 3rd time or even grab my skew and add a couple distinct lines. And that's basically how you would create one clump of grass. Now, the next step is doing that, but creating a whole row of grass. So you create multiple clumps right next to each other in a row. Now, wherever this row ends up being, right, if this was the first row in your grass, then you'd want to make sure the entire row is consistently the same darkness of burn. So I keep clumping, then I would burn another clump of grass. Again, it's more like a curve and kind of lifting my pen as I get away from that base. You're going to then, in step 3, we're going to actually multiply that row. So you'd create a row, and then you would burn another row, build each row slightly darker than the previous one. Also, there's another thing to note is that the grass that is farther away, and especially if it's really far in your piece, you want to make sure that you aren't making very distinct blades. But as the grass is closer to the viewer, then those blades can be a lot more distinct to make it look like, yes, that's close, and you can blur out the grass that is farther away. That is also a couple things that you can add to be able to create that depth. Okay, so that is basically the 3 steps. You want to create the clump, you multiply that on each row, making sure that each row is kind of the same tonal value, same darkness, and then you multiply each row, kind of making each row a little darker as you go. That will create the depth, and it doesn't just look like a huge mess. I hope, guys, that helped you as you're learning how to wood burn. Grab a scrap piece of wood and practice this before you actually put it on your final piece. And I think as you do it, you'll realize, okay, grass isn't as scary of a thing and you can add it to your pieces and make it look really nice. A couple of things I want to just add. You don't have to wood burn everything. So you can leave places in your wood burning that would be grass, but you just left blank. So you don't always have to wood burn the entire field. That is also tied to a concept of wanting to draw your eye to a specific place in your wood burning. Whatever your focus is, if it's an animal or if it's a building, a lot of detail of grass all across the front of your piece or whatever, and it's too much, it'll draw your eye to that instead of drawing the eye to the main object of your piece. So you definitely want to use it to complement your piece, not to just distract it. Okay guys, that is it for me today. Give it a like, a share, and make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a future video. And if there was something that you found really helpful in this video, or you have found helpful in burning grass specifically, leave it in the comments below. I love to hear what people have to say about these videos. So we'll see you guys next time.